Hey YouTube, this is Nashtaters. Welcome back to another episode of War of the Visions. Today is Friday. It's time for another episode of Friday Free Thinking, also known as FFT. So today I think we need to discuss something that perhaps a lot of people don't talk about, or as I've seen, there's not much content involved in this. So today I'm going to highlight something that everyone perhaps don't think too much about, but is always on their minds, because subconsciously we don't think about it, but we involve ourselves with the very activities with this specific concept of the part of the game. And what exactly am I talking about or referring to? And that is guilds. So let's go ahead and talk about it. Alright, so guilds. Why do we need to join them? What do we need to do to get involved in them? And why are they there? Let's start off by going back a little bit of background history on what's going on with me. I was originally in the group called Nostra Nostra. It was founded by a couple of really nice gentlemen. As I quickly found out, the people in the guild were really kind, really generous. And subsequently, the results did end up that several people from my subscribers / viewers did decide to join the guild. So it did work out really well. Then on top of it, I found out that the guild leader is what we like to call him a dirty whale. Well, he's a really nice guy and he spends a lot of money, but he's very humble and very kind in terms of sharing his knowledge and whatnot. So it turns out I'm a big fan of the guild, big fan of the group. And we have a Discord. We join it pretty much almost on a daily basis, and several players actually play and hang out on the Discord pretty much daily. Me, I try to go in there maybe every other day or so often, simply because I have a lot of stuff I need to do throughout the day. But that being said, we did decide that recruiting is a pain, and I've tried many times, as have the other leaders, and we realized perhaps the best move to make was simply merge. So right now we're in the guild called Vendetta, because we decided to merge our old guild with this new guild. Both guilds had somewhere roughly around within the vicinity of maybe 10 to 15 players each. So we felt like it was a good idea. But one thing about this current guild is the fact that many of the players are actually whales, dolphins, etc., or high competitive free-to-play players. And they were actually Platinum 3 before we joined. But as it turns out, the more players you inject into your guild, the ranking actually surprisingly goes down. I'm not sure why, but I don't really care, to be honest. All I know is we're now in a new guild, and I think we're also going to change the name of Vendetta to something else. But since I don't have the permission of every member in this guild yet to review them, I'm only going to talk about myself, and then talk about in general why guilds are so crucial to the success of your account. Now, first and foremost, attend every single day because you get nice bonuses. As you can see in rewards, you can get a lot of nice rewards. And it also scales with your Serpent Stone statue. So obviously, this is something perhaps as a guild we should try to improve on, because you get gems, you get gold, you get skip tickets, and you get small potions. Probably should have been large, but it is what it is. Small increments of gain means small increments of gain in terms of power for your account. Also, once in a while we get the +3 desired gift for the guild medals, and you can get 3 medals from each player that sends you the gift. Personally, I always recommend sending your gifts later towards the day, especially during the event when we have to actually switch to the +3 medal count. Guild statues, like I said, is very important in this game, because these not only give you benefits in terms of increasing the number of members in your guild, increasing the number of things to put in the barracks, which I'll get into shortly here, increasing the number of daily rewards as long as you attend, and finally, increase in number of stats. That's right, increase in number of stats. As you can see, as you level up your statues, you can get up to 10% of HP and some spirit bonus as well, as it seems. And then of course you can get rewards for the leaders and sub-leaders for the serpent. And then the bowl, you can get TP maxed max guild member slots increased. And finally, defense. Kieran increases magic. Personally, one of my favorite. And it also increases crit rate. And wow, that's pretty good. And then it increases job points acquisition from the barracks. The lion, last but not least, increases physical attack power. And as you get to the end, it increases dex and some little bit extra agility. So getting to 10 probably should be the main goal, main focus for people. And when you have a maximum number of players, each player can increase one statue per day, or as you can divide it, I guess. You can do it 3 times per day. So you could talk about 60, probably like almost 90 if we get maxed. So that's pretty good. Let's talk about barracks. So barracks is pretty much essential to the success in terms of raising your faith and or lowering your faith. You also gain job points per hour. Basically, you just have to use replenish in terms of feeding your barracks with food like this. And then every 3,000, I believe, actually, every 3,000 will equal to 1 hour. So as you can see here, you'll gain something, or in this case, lose something every hour. So for certain units that you don't really need a lot of faith, such as units that pretty much is high attack power in terms of physical damage, then you want to ideally go for lower faith, obviously. So this is what I'm doing with her. And then pretty much for everyone else who have some sort of status ailment effect abilities and or healing or something like that, you want to increase faith. And faith also boosts up the proc rate of magical skills. For example, let's say Mastery has auto potion or auto cure. The higher the faith, the higher chance for her to proc that. And the same goes with bravery. But I think it's fair to say in this game, everyone should be at level 97 bravery because it doesn't harm them in any way. Last but not least, of course, we have actual guild battle. Personally, I feel like there needs to be some extra additions to the guild battle because right now, basically each player gets 2 attacks. And if you lose all 3 of your members in the first attack, you're done pretty much for the day. So ideally, the best way to build a guild battle team is perhaps to go with a very, very overall flexible team. In terms of, my suggestion is go with something that's very balanced. But I also noticed that another good way to build your arena team on defense, or excuse me, your guild ward defensive team is to actually go with 3 attackers. Because if you went with 3 solid attackers, perhaps bruisers of sorts, your goal is to try to kill as many of your enemy attackers as possible, preferably on the first turn. Meaning, since each person only has 2 battle points usage per battle, if they're completely annihilated using their first battle point, then they're pretty much done for the entire battle. So I think that's a good defensive scheme, and something I need to work hard on. But personally, I feel like guild is very essential. And for that, in the future, I think I'm going to review my guildmates. Not necessarily looking at their accounts or anything like that, but kind of just get to know them more and perhaps talk a little bit more about them. Because I know when I'm in Discord, you kind of get to learn a lot about each other's personalities. But I think the biggest characters in this guild so far is going to be the leaders. And I think if they're okay with it, I'll definitely talk about them. Because I feel like it's important that as a community, we get to know each other as much as we can and as well as you can. Therefore, we're more inclined to help each other. The last thing I want to talk about guild is this. Right now, we're dealing with raid. And I realized that if you have strong members in your guild, it's really good to use them to help you progress. Because raid is very, very, very hard, right? And sometimes doing multi, I feel like I'm spending a lot of time looking for the right people to bring the right units and make sure that they are competent enough to understand that you shouldn't be stacking on vision cards and things like that, right? And maybe equipping specific espers that are kind of useful for that specific encounter and, you know, things like that. So a lot of time it's good to have discussions with your guildies because what that allows is people to understand the game better by helping each other. I know I learned a ton from just talking to my guildies. in Discord. And so I feel like the guild itself in this specific instance is actually very useful. I played many games in my lifetime, and I learned that a lot of these other games that I played, people don't really care about guild. They kind of just use it to gain, things to improve their accounts. But I feel like War of Visions is something that has struck me as one of those games that really emphasize on people helping each other. And as a result, I think the community is a very healthy, very non-toxic, for the most part, community. And I think for that, I really felt like discussing the guild and guilds in general was something that is going to be really relevant for this game. So the last thing I want to talk about is obviously guild medals. You earn quite a bit as you're playing the game. Recently, they've added unit shards to the shop itself so you can buy them. In this case is Mariana. Hopefully over time they're going to keep adding more. Of course, the most important thing right now, as of now, in this current version of the game, is the Rainbow Fragment of Thought, because you need it for every unit in the game. But hopefully in the future, when they give us the Fragments of Thoughts for the lower rarity units that no longer requires the Rainbow version, but of their own individual required Fragments of Thoughts, then this will perhaps be not quote-unquote as important per se, because eventually we're going to run out of UR units to build. Then of course you can simply buy more things to sacrifice to the statues. Another option you can perhaps spend some of your medals will be on the prisms and the Fragments of Thoughts for individual purposes. And then of course the Nameless Heroes, which I used to think is very vital, but since they've broken it down into 3 separate dungeons, even though I feel like the drop rate isn't as good as before, but I think that's just more of like a feeling, right? That's like you think that is less, but always is just based on percentages and RNG. So this used to be one of my high suggestions, but I don't think it's really that big of a deal anymore. So realistically speaking, there's not a whole lot of things to buy in the guild shop, other than perhaps the different stakes and the fangs and things like that, because increasing statues are a lot more important than hoarding medals. I think that's all the time I have for this video. I think Friday Free Thinking is always a great platform for me to inject topics of conversations that the community typically perhaps don't engage in. And I think it's a good time for people to really get their feelings on and share with the community. So please share in the comment section below how you feel about guilds, how your guild is doing, and anything else you want to talk about. As always, time is your most valuable resource, so use it wisely. Take care of yourself and all your loved ones. Nashtaters and his family out. Peace.